Ladies and gentlemen, today we have two experts, agricultural extension professionals from different parts of the world, and we are going to discuss about digitalization of agricultural extension and advisory services. Now, for this discussion, with me here next to me is Dr. Jeet Ramjatan. He's from University of West Indies, Ministry of Agriculture Extension Division. And next on my extreme right is Professor Alharul Chowdhury, University of Guelph, Capacity Development Extension Program. He's leading that program. And also Professor Chowdhury is the President-elect of Association for International Agricultural and Extension Education. What we are going to discuss today is something which is very topical. In the industry, we discussed that we are moving from Industry 4.0 to Industry 5.0, where we were used to smart organizations, and when you look at the agricultural industry, it's also experiencing this change. And on top of that, we also find generation renewal, where we are seeing Generation Z coming into the active workplace. Now, in this context, our topic today, digitalization of agricultural extension and advisory services, with examples from Bangladesh, Trinidad and Tobago of West Indies and Canada, and from elsewhere, is going to focus the way forward. So, to begin with, I would like to start with Professor Chowdhury. What do you think in general about this use of digitalization in agricultural extension and advisory services?
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Jayawardena, to invite me in this very important discussion. Yeah, when I think about digitalization, there are a couple of things comes to my mind. I think we need to understand it's not the same as digitization, right? Digitization is like a process that started long before that we are making analog things digital things, right? I mean, for example, once upon a time, extension advisory service use print material, right? And we make it digital right now, right? So that's the process of producing digital content, right? But digitalization of extension advisory service is actually broader than this. It really depends on different institutions. It depends on internet and IT sector, as well as it depends on the advisory service and research service that we have been working different stakeholders, even private technology providers, for example, right? And so it is a process that encompass all kind of stakeholders that include both agriculture as well as non-agriculture, right? Yeah, I think it has a tremendous future in terms of reaching out our clients. If I think about some example, for example, Bangladesh, for example, right? Like maybe Sri Lanka and Bangladesh has different similar kind of development context. There are like different social and collaborative media, right? Use of Facebook, use of YouTube, it's become very popular in last, I would say actually in last 6-7 years. We're not long before, but as well as like use of different decision support system. Think about smartphone apps. Like there are numerous apps, like for soil testing or soil making decision about harvesting, climate, disease and pest. These are available. But um, I think there are a lot of opportunities in terms of using these digitalization advisory service for serving client better in terms of sharing knowledge, in terms of building relationship with them. But there are also challenges too. um, we need to think about that.
Okay, and thank you, Professor Chowdhury. So we will go into specific details because with your work and international experience, you can give examples not only from Bangladesh but from maybe Canada and elsewhere. And I would like to pose the same question to Dr. Ramjathan. What do you think about digitalization of agricultural extension and advisory services?
So I think that for us in that particular region in the Caribbean, and especially more so for Trinidad and Tobago, it is a invaluable tool for us because extension itself traditionally has always been, in a position where we lack all of the resources at times. So in order to reach more people and to do more, this is one means that we've been seeing. So although it's been discussed for a long time now, it's only very recently, like within the last 3-4 years, and especially more so during the pandemic, is that time when we really saw how it could be utilized and harnessed. And now, so we see a lot of expansions rapidly. So it's revolutionizing the whole sector in agriculture in terms of providing information and services to farmers. So not only for the clientele, but also for the service providers. We have to be able now to keep up with that, what is emerging for us. So it is a lot of capacity development that is required. Some things are new, and it continues to evolve. And with that in mind, we see it as a very useful tool in terms of ICTs, social media. So much is happening, and people are coming along and involving in it. But what we see happening now is that we are concerned about how its knowledge is being managed. So we have to know more about knowledge management and content creation and engagement. And there are a lot of things that are new for us. And so these are the areas that we see future work needs to be done in order to be able to effectively use these types of services. So it's really something that we see as great potential that will be able to, and especially now where we have other issues. So if we think about, for example, in our region, we small islands, and due to climate change, there's a lot of vulnerable communities. And so this is one avenue or one way that we can utilize this sort of dissemination of information to be able to try to build some resilience at-risk communities. So information will be able to, disseminate more quickly and more efficiently and be able to meet our development goals. So this is how we view it. Yeah.
Thank you. Let me focus on Professor Chowdhury. So, would you like to give us some elaborative examples relating to Bangladesh in the use of digitalization for agricultural extension and advisory?
Yeah. Thank you very much. There are many examples come to my mind about digitalization of advisory service, but maybe I like to mention one or two examples. One is like it has started like 3-4 years, like especially in COVID-19, it became more popular. About it's called digital cattle market. So cattle is in Bengali is called guru, right? So digital guru market, right? And like we have a festival, it's called Eid al-Adha, right? Bangladesh is a more Muslim dominant country, and so people like some of the industry sector actually came up with and created a platform where you can post your like cattle information, and people can choose, and and build connection between buyer and seller, right? So this became very popular, and then it also later on converted to, like, selling meat. Like, you can choose, which part of the like cattle you want, and you can select
So,
it.
so this information was communicated through digital media.
Yeah, it's a platform,
Uh-huh.
and it has it is a internet platform, and it has also connection to mobile app, right? You can use from your smartphone, right? And you can also bid, right, about the price of cattle. So here, traditionally, we think agriculture advisory service is about to talk about agronomic practice, pesticide, or those kind of things. But we know, like, advisory service is beyond that. Even it now includes a relationship building, networking between market and producer, right? In this case, so this platform became very popular, especially in COVID-19, for especially building network of producer and seller, right? And another thing came to my mind is about in private sector, we did actually research, recently published in one of the journal too, that rooftop gardening, which is more urban agriculture, especially Dhaka is very like rooftop gardening is very popular in capital Dhaka, and there are a number of Facebook groups actually emerge, and some groups has, like, maybe 100,000 or 200,000 user group member, um, and we found in our research that a Facebook group is very is one of the, I would say, one of the very important source of advice that gardener actually rely on in terms of pesticide, in terms of what variety they choose, because our traditional extension system, they actually don't focus urban gardening, especially rooftop gardening, right? And so it is a like an emerge out of necessity, like using Facebook as a tool to share knowledge, to support learning between from gardener to gardeners. And there are also some expert also participate, like it's more user centric kind of initiative. Yeah, that's two came to my mind about in terms of
So, has the Department of Agriculture in Bangladesh actually got involved in that? Was that some activity that went among the volunteers?
That's a good question. That's why I mentioned, like, Department of Agriculture Extension, they have their different Facebook groups, YouTube channels, um, but not for targeted towards rooftop gardening. They have one, I know, like, but that's not much popular.
Mm-hmm.
But we found, like, in the private sector, there are a couple of groups which are very popular and very active. Maybe daily there are maybe 100 200 posts generated. You can think of that, right? People share their picture of their disease infestation, or maybe there is a good crop harvest, they share it, like problem and their success, asking for sources, asking for networks, like, so those kind of thing they share. But this is the group that we research, that's not by Department of Agriculture Extension. And we found that Department of Agriculture Extension does not focus, what I say, it doesn't mean that they don't do any advice on urban gardening. They do, but it's not their main focus. So that vacuum is actually filled up by those emerged Facebook groups in private sector.
Okay, that's interesting. And especially how the youth are embracing
Yeah,
this
yeah,
technology.
yeah. You're right. Yeah, there are also we found many group members are very young and middle age farm produce like gardeners in that group.
So, Dr. Ramjatan,
Mm-hmm.
now when you say about Caribbean or what's more known to us as West Indies,
West Indies.
we know that it has many islands. So,
Mm-hmm.
Trinidad and Tobago, yeah, again known to us.
Yes.
Tell us briefly
Yes.
about the landscape of the related to agriculture in the Caribbean,
Yeah.
and then you can elaborate on an example about this use of digitalization for agricultural extension and advisory services.
Okay. So we also have food crops, export crops. Our sugarcane industry is no longer sustainable.
It's
so
a tropical country.
It's just same conditions like in Sri Lanka, and for us the regions we have three mountain ranges, and we have some plains. So in the plains we have things like rice will be produced, but those farms are dwindling now because there is a lot of competition for alternative land use in terms of housing, etc. I think it's happening everywhere. So we have cocoa, which is used to make chocolates. But our cocoa is a specialty chocolate cocoa. It's a fine flavored cocoa. So it's in a high demand. We have that as well as food production. So we will have vegetable cultivation regions. And we do a lot of condiments. So you have things like chives, like onions, as well as mint and many of those different types of things. As well as you'll have the cold crops like cabbage and other things, tomato, food. That's what they root crops as well, things like cassava, bananas, plantains. So those are the types of crop farmers we have. We also have small ruminants, sheep, goat. We have dairy, small amount of dairy and beef. We import a lot of milk as well. And then poultry, it's a contractual system for poultry production. So those are basically how our farmers will engage in different type of cultivation system. Yeah. All right.
So then that's interesting. Then how about the embracing of digitalization by the farmers, farming community, and how does the Department of Agriculture or the Minister of Agriculture uses digitalization for agricultural extension and advisory services?
Yes, so we have what we describe as a pluralistic system. So we have private extension, public extension. Now public extension will have different departments, much like how you would have, we have marketing, when we have agricultural development bank, we have extension division, and then we have two regions who will have extension agents will deal directly with the farmers. So everyone is embracing digital technologies. They're using all of these platforms that are available now. So we're using Facebook, they're using WhatsApp groups, they're using many apps. But sometimes we work together in collaboration. So in that way, we can get the best use of resources. So they've collaborated with the marketing division together with extension and other NGOs. And so they've created apps now where farmers could go and get pricing information. So you can see on a daily basis, and this is real-time information, it's updated every day. So you can see things like the volume of a commodity that's traded. And if you want, farmers can see now price information. There are many others where we can get agromet information, or we can even have record keeping and other features like crop protection. So you can upload images or video. The benefits with these things are now that we can connect farmers with experts now on these platforms so they can deal directly. So it saves time, and then that's one way that we find it's safe in the sense that we can get information from a trusted source. So we know when it comes from the Ministry of Agriculture or it comes from the university, then this is something that farmers can rely on, this advice, because different organizations or different institutions, they will have different recommendations or different things. And while we exploring so many different things. Like they're using it for different purposes. So the ministry, our purpose will be information dissemination to farmers. So we will look at what are the critical issues. So it comes in the form of, let's say, different types of campaigns. So one time it may be to create an awareness of a particular issue. Let's say maybe an invasive species or a disease, right? So we will have thematic areas that we will provide information for. Sometimes it may not even be agriculture. Like in COVID time, it was safety. So even sometimes we do things like disaster preparedness, and we also put out alerts, so we can give different types of information. So within that it's multifunctional and so many different providers. So as I said, we have public, private.
So can you see that across the islands they have been embraced? It's in effect.
Yes, it's a similar pattern throughout. So it's spread like this, and of course some areas are more advanced than others. Some are using more advanced technology. Some have greater access to resources. So even some of our extension agents will be using things like drones, and they can assist the farmers, to be able to map in and imaging and all of those services. But other places, they're getting there.
Great. So getting back to Professor Chowdhury, so you are attached to the development capacity development extension program in University of Guelph, and you are also the president elect of Association for International Agricultural Extension Education. So how is the experience in Canada? What are the examples on digitalization of agricultural extension and advisory services in Canada?
A very good question. Well, in Canadian system, I think we had until 1990s we had which we call golden age of extension or advisory service. We followed similar model, not model, but we are somehow influenced by cooperative extension in US, right? So we have two different systems. One is federal government, and another is provincial government, right? So agriculture is always, the responsibility for the provincial government, right? Federal.
How many provinces you have?
We have 9 provinces, and so but federal government slowly discontinued funding or support for extension. If you see the Global Forum for Rural Advisory Service, you will find like there are data until 1990, and then there is no other data, right? So basically the staff responsible for extension discontinued. But provincial government also did a lot of cut in terms of like providing support for extension staff. So that said, from early 2000, there is a extension has suffered like for restructure and how meet the demand for farmers, right? And like Trinidad and Tobago, that's why there are private sector extension and consultant emerge. And it's difficult to Canada is a big country. Even like Ontario, where I'm from, I live and work. It's like almost I don't know how many, maybe 5-6 times bigger than Sri Lanka. So to reach out these farmers and advise them is challenge. So since like early 2010, there is a introduction of tools like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. These are very popular because you can now reach such number of farmers with limited staff. But as well as like we have like advanced technology using like drone, right? Using like decision support system. We also have like call center is still there, which is long before it is there. But people are mostly moving towards like new technology, like using drones and decision support system. And now there is also, we are talking about artificial intelligence using in advisory service, right? So tools like ChatGPT and like how we can use it in the context of advising farmers. Um, so like my experience is that um, although these advanced technology help to fill the gap of limited extension staff or capacity, but in any way it is I'm not in I don't think like we can think of like this is a alternative of face-to-face extension. So if you go to rural farmers, rural areas, you'll see that farmers still value the presence of face-to-face extension. They wanted to see extension agent and talk to them, and that's why people like accountant, people like technology provider, input dealers, right? They become more important because they are there, like they live like they reach out to the farmers, they work with them, and like our traditional extension system is quite suffering like in terms of that. And also like too much digitalization also has issues of trust. There is a lot of good information out there, but also there are a lot of confused and ill information, right? And there is one of the topic like we found in one of our research, like people are talking about lack of information integrity is a problem, because there are public extension service, there is also private extension service. Sometimes they provide conflict information, right? And so farmers become confused which one to.
What is the role of private sector extension in Canada?
Yeah, private sector, like there are two actually different types of private sector. One is like independent consultant. So they are typically, maybe they are experienced person working with ministry, maybe retired, or maybe working with input supplier, but then they decide to have a their own company. But also there are input supplying, companies who provide advice tied to the product, right? And actually farmers pay for that, for this advice. And independent consultant, actually farmers provide advice, like pay them for customized advice about the about their production. But then there is we don't call it private, but it's one kind of private, like producer organization. So producer organization also is like a big influencer in advice in agriculture advisory system. And producer organization actually implement many of the government project, right? So they get some kind of support from the government, and then they work with their
So
producer
this
member.
producer organizations means farm organizations?
Yeah, farmer organization. Yeah, farmer associations or farmer organization. Yeah, so yeah, like as I said, like my experience is that digitalization is the future or present and future, but at the same time we need to think about it critically, because there is an issue of as I said, like trust building, issues of like dissatisfaction also, with the farmers, because um, like Canada is not an exception. It's like probably in many countries, digital advisory service is thought about like as the information transfer. So that's the problem. Digital advisory service, um, you know, it should not be thought about as just passing information, because there should be some kind of follow up. There should be some kind of, you pass the information, and you don't know how the information is being internalized by the community, right? So
So what you are saying is that sometimes inaccurate information can get internalized.
yes, yes, and also accurate information can get rejected, right? Because it doesn't fit with the farmer context. That is scientifically accurate. You know that, right? I mean, about different variety cultivation or farm. I visited a farm just last month, and one of the question we had like, um, why did you get your recommendation for fertilizer and pesticide? And he said like, there is a like government recommended organization like who provide. But then we asked, do you follow that? He said, no, I don't always follow that. So you see, like, because uh, he doesn't follow that, it doesn't mean that he's he's like he's not an innovative farmer. He's not following because that recommend from his experience. He thinks that if the modified if he modify the recommended doses, that give more yield. So each farm has also a microclimate, right? And
Yeah.
very contextual things that you need to understand. So in Canada, I mean, for we have in terms of farm size, what we call missing hollow, that means missing middle, right? Hollowing of the middle, right? Because now we have more large farmer, middle farmer is they are having difficulties to cope up, right? Because the advice is also now there is no public like the public service advice is limited, right? So advice has tied to a cost, right? Whatever you get, and or you have a very subsistence farm, not subsistence like a small farmer, right? Who or maybe part-time farmer, right? So that is one of the challenge we have. Like we don't have like a middle farm size, right? They're very large and corporate kind of farming, and for them like they have all kind of advisory service, including digital. They're connected to their input suppliers, and they have their dedicated. For example, John Deere is one of the company who provide all kind of agricultural machinery, and they provide like automated system, and they have their own. They collect data for farmers and also provide how they can make it precision, right, about those kind of automated vehicle, and also like drone, like different sensor they use for soil moisture, soil quality. So but for small farmers it's difficult to afford those, right? So they are getting out of business. So farming become more corporatized, right? And with the digital, not only advisory service is one thing, but with using more digital technology or digitalization of agriculture, uh, there is also a challenge we see, like because equity challenge, right? Because there is a loss of like inequity or inequality has been created between in the system itself.
And so the small farmers, they find it difficult to, can I use the word exist, survive?
And compete, and that's why some of them are part-time farmers because they can afford with doing full-time farming.
What's the average age of a farmer like?
Yeah, I don't know exact data, but
It's more about
50s,
so
like,
the youth are not embracing agriculture.
No, that's another issue. Like that's a great problem in our system too. Like generational transform of farming is become.
Generation renewal.
Yeah, yeah. Like young people don't want to stay in the rural areas,
It is
and
not. It's not attractive for them
for them, yeah,
in
you're right.
Canada.
Too, yeah, Canada, yeah, yeah.
So how about in Trinidad and Tobago or in the Caribbean?
Yes.
What are the issues farmers face with digitalization, and how is the how is it progressing agriculture as an industry?
Yeah. So um, I think we have good acceptance for digital because we have good penetration levels, infrastructure is there, they can access, most can afford it. It's just to make sure that the service that is provided is adequate for them in this regard. So what we are doing now, and it might be a problem too, because if you focus so much on e-extension or digital extension learning, digitalization, then there are some communities that might be left behind because we spend so much time on this now. All our resources and agents will be working on preparing content and doing all this, making videos, etc. And now we're also doing, they use e-conferencing tools like Zoom and Teams and Google Meet. So they're teaching online, offering courses, offering extension services on those platforms. And then those communities now are being not so much neglected, but they're getting less attention. And those are some of the vulnerable communities that really need these services. So we still now realize that, and they have outreach programs to work with these people and to also help improve their digital literacy levels and their access. So the work, as I said, is pluralistic. So they're working with NGOs and other donors to be able to assist these people, improve their access. So that's one way. Then you were talking about how the youth is actually gravitating towards that, right? So there are special programs that the governments are focusing on attracting youth. First of all, they're providing training for them, and they're training them in together with the university. So there is a program where they're giving like different types of technologies now. So they're using digital technologies now. They're going into using irrigation system, automated system, protected control environment. So they're using vertical farming, they're using greenhouses, and they're actually giving this greenhouse with a parcel of land to a certain amount of use. So they do like different cohorts. So they will train 100 this year, and then they will distribute those things to them, train them, and then provide some resources for them to be able to get involved in agriculture. And those are some of the initiatives that they're using.
So how is the attractiveness of attractiveness that agriculture gets as a as a profession?
Yeah.
Is it increasing or is it in declining?
Well, in this case, through those types of intervention, it's very attractive. So they're oversubscribed for that. But in terms of if you talk about farm families and traditional agriculture system, it's the same situation. People are not staying in agriculture. It's getting difficult, and the age of the farmers are increasing as well. So our farmers are in the 60s.
So you are also saying that the youth, they are not seeing future in agriculture as a profession.
Yeah, they will not rely on that as a full-time career or full-time profession. If they go towards it, it's because that they come from a farm family, so they will keep some aspect of it, but it will be like part-time, but they will look for another job. It's difficult to get people to stay in agriculture because of it's a risky business, it's challenging, and we have climate extremes, we have severe droughts, we have flooding.
Do you have micro insurance schemes?
Oh, no,
No.
but they can get credit.
Okay. People don't like crop insurance schemes.
The insurance providers recognize that it's too risky because this area will continue. Annually, it will flood. Drought problem is so much things. They will not take those risks. No one is willing or ready
How is it in Canada?
No, we have farm insurance. I don't know the program in detail, but our of course, like large farmers, they have all kind of insurance.
How is it in Bangladesh?
Yeah, Bangladesh is like Trinidad. The insurance is not a farm insurance is not something popular.
So now something that Professor Chowdhury mentioned about in Canada is that agriculture is getting into the hands of corporates.
Mm-hmm.
The middle farmers are diminishing,
Mm-hmm.
and the smallholders, they find it difficult.
Yeah, yeah, and
How is it in Caribbean? Do you have a trend like that, or
No, because we don't have land to have large expanse. It's being degraded because of alternative land use policies, development for other things, housing, school. Those are the other competing bodies. Not so much corporate or land. We do have a problem in terms that our import food bill for the region is too high. So that is what we're trying to work on, reducing the food import bill and using different initiatives to attract young people into agriculture, or even support the existing farmers, trying to make their operations more efficient and more profitable and help them to be more sustainable. That's as much as how we
how
can.
is the involvement of ladies in agriculture?
Yeah, well, it's good that you asked, because from some of the insights that we got from all of our social media campaigns, we're seeing now that we have about 60% and more women are being active in agriculture. And what we've noticed too, that there are a lot of persons who traditionally, with traditional extension, we will go to the known farmers or the registered farmers and we know who these people are. But when we provide services online now, it's attracting others now, prospective people to, they're becoming more aware now of agriculture and what can be done. So we have a lot of small farmers now. And so people with limited land space, they are attracted to the technologies that they can use. Hydroponics is one thing that we have seen. Quite a high level of interest and growth in hydroponics, and it is very useful because this builds diversity. So if the lowlands are flooding, those people who have these things, they can still have produce now to bring to the market. So it's a way of building our food security, and it's something that is working. So we're seeing all of these new things happening, and it was not planned, but coming out from through the restrictions of the COVID, a lot of people were home and they didn't have activities to do because you couldn't go anywhere. So they started doing things at home, and home gardening has increased as well. So we have a lot more requests now for this type of information to be able to provide, training, advice, because those people were not traditionally farmers. They may know some things, but they want to find out more.
So they have this interest about home gardening
Home
still?
gardening, yes.
Because now in Sri Lankan context, during the COVID, there was so much of interest about home gardening, but it did not sustain. So in
for us, they took it further.
Okay.
Of course, it's probably because these people may have been other people who are working somewhere, so they may have some capital to invest. So they're taking it further now, and they're doing processing, and they're doing value addition, and they're registering through GAP programs, and so they're coming to the farmers market now, and they're selling their produce. So they will have some little artisan product or some craft. Or they're taking things that like all of those. There is a big drive now towards health and safety, and people are becoming more health conscious. So they're not going only towards traditional crops, it's like potatoes or melon or root crops or peppers or those things. They're now looking for microgreens. Is a big market that's growing now. They're looking at things that they can make health drinks from now. So kale is a product that is attracted a lot of attention. So things like chard and kale and other things. There are a lot of other things that are happening that is leading to new developments. Like, for instance, we have something called citrus greening. It's a disease in the citrus industry. It causes a decline in the citrus plant over maybe, let's say, 5 to 7 years. So there is less citrus available, but we're seeing now new products now. Dragon fruit has become very popular. So people are finding innovative ways to use it, to cultivate it, to market it. And all of these, because of all these new developments, Extension has that job now to be able to quickly respond in order to be a very responsive system. So it's very much demand driven, and we have to be able to kind of provide that kind of support, and in that way, for us to be sustainable and have food security and try to reduce our import bills.
Okay, that's
That's
interesting.
the way it's going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a trend through the Caribbean, right? And then we also have to cater for a lot of the tourism industry as well.
Mm-hmm.
So these things are novel things, and people want to see something exotic and local. And so yeah, it's a lot of things happening. It's exciting.
So, how is the involvement of ladies in agriculture in Canadian context?
Yeah, it's getting better, but still
Male
it's
dominated?
dominated by mainly, the ownership mainly male. But it's
But
getting,
I think even in Bangladesh context, ownership may be male, but there are many ladies.
no, I mean in the past, like if you think about like from now in 20 years, the situation was quite worse. But now there are many female entrepreneurship, even agriculture sector,
in
and
Canada.
yeah, both Bangladesh and
Uh-huh,
Canada. I
uh-huh.
think situation has really.
Is it the same in?
Yes, because like when we think about the entire value chain and the actors in the value chain, they may not necessarily need to be involved in primary production, but they can do something along. So they can be, semi-processing, they can do value addition, they can make further things, and so that in that way, we're seeing more women being involved in agriculture. But in terms of, like you were saying, it's a similar structure. It's still, the men own the land and all of those things, but it's gradually shifting.
The ownership of the lands also passing into ladies now?
Yeah, yeah. No. So now even, okay, so for us, you can apply to the state for lands for agriculture.
Uh-huh.
So you have a proposal and you go before them and you ask for lands to do agriculture. And when it's offered, women are applying and they're accessing and they're having farms of their own. And they're very successful at it. So
that's very interesting. We had a very nice discussion. And before concluding, I would like to ask both of you some concluding remarks on the digitalization of agricultural extension and advisory services. We focused on opportunities and challenges in the context of Bangladesh, Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, and also in Canada, specifically Montreal and all that. So I would like to ask both of you any concluding remarks or any comments briefly.
Yeah, as as I said briefly before, like digitalization has a tremendous future. But the thing is that the problem is that we think it as a panacea, right? It's a solution
For everything.
to all problems, but we forget that like it is considered is a part of what we call data colonialism, right? Like this digital service and what we do in digital sphere, we just share data and information, right? And who owns the data, right? And how is your privacy is being respected and considered, and how you actually provide your consensus. Is it a consensus basis that like you are sharing the information and you have the consent to use by others, right? And as well as as I mentioned, like that I'm now doing research on agri-food misinformation, right? Because of the digitalization, this becoming more problematic, because now anyone can share any information, and anyone can access from any part of the world, like what dairy farmers in Ontario is doing. Dairy farmers in Sri Lanka can see, and but not all of the information might not be relevant, right? The same thing, like if we think about like farmers in Ontario can also follow what farmers in Britain is doing, right? So these are the things that becoming more problematic, and as well as like some emerging technology like use of, as I mentioned, artificial intelligence, how we embrace it, right, and how we use it, right. So in a nutshell, what I wanted to say, that digitalization is good thing, but you need to think about what we call responsible innovation. So you need to reflect of the future, the consequences, good and bad consequences, and then use it prudently, to reap the benefit of it. But at the same time, to reap the benefit, you need to think about, like, those the things I mentioned about, issue about data colonialism, issues of misinformation, right, and also how digital divide has been in the discussion for 20 years, when internet become penetrated, still is there. Think about, like, those people, like the issues of Dr. Ramjatan mentioned about digital literacy, right, and we are talking about now critical digital literacy. So what we see in the digital world, how we can determine that it is authentic and is relevant in our context, right. So people need to, if those people don't have that capacity, actually we are contributing to digital divide, because they have the access, but they are not getting benefit of that. They are probably even, you know this information may be harming them, right. So those are the thing, we need to consider. I mean, I always use the example of responsible innovation, because this is one of the which think about ethics of using you know uh, digital tools in the society, right. That's the main thing.
Very interesting, Dr. Ramjatan.
So
Concluding remarks?
yeah, in my response to that, I think that's how we see the importance of collaborations now, for us to be able to understand these new roles clearly. What are these new roles? Because we, as providers of information and having different sources of information, we must be responsible in terms of being able to understand that people must have trust in us, and then at the same time to not be in such a way that we want to restrict, or we don't have all the capacity that we need to develop. So capacity development is important to make sure that the extension providers have the abilities to be able to provide service for the sector, and at the same time understand their roles in terms of being responsible, and that we have to make sure that there is a certain amount of ethics and safety in providing this kind of service. Yeah.
So that's very interesting. We had a very interesting discussion today about digitalization of agricultural extension and advisory services in the context of Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, Bangladesh and Canada, Montreal. So we are so thankful to Professor Chowdhury from University of Guelph, and to Dr. Ramjatan from University of the West Indies, and also from the Ministry of Agriculture, West Indies. So thank you so much. We look forward to have another session in future on relevant aspects on agricultural extension.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
for coming.